Welcome to What Do You Want to Do, the show that will hopefully help you figure out what you want to do in life or reconnect you to what you love doing. Each show has a guest who is doing what they want to do, whether it's in their career or in addition to their regular job. Most importantly, we want to help you realize that no matter your age, you too can do what you want to do if you have the will to do it. Now here's your host, Leonard Kaplan.
Hi, and welcome to part 2 of my interview with Jamie Denbo from Swampscott, Mass., now in Hollywood, California, creator, producer, writer of the Amazon Prime series American Princess, and a regular writer on the staff of Grey's Anatomy currently. We'll find out what else she's doing, and we'll have a little cameo. I'm giving away a spoiler. A little bit of a cameo by her husband, John Ross Bowie of Big Bang Theory fame. And we'll also talk about the AI influence on writers in Hollywood. So if all that stuff interests you, as I'm sure it will, stay with us. Okay, so you created the show, and is it over now? Did I hear you say the past tense, the production is over, or is it coming back?
No, it's over. It's one season and done. It is one whole complete season that was done a few years ago, and it is in the canon.
Right. That's it's got a final episode that we can look forward to then.
That's true. It does end on it's got a nice complete button. That's
cool. I like, that's one aspect of modern television I like, is that they have finales these days. When I was growing up, everybody was left hanging when a show was canceled, and you always wondered. So now, what are you working on these days? And are you doing any acting and improv now?
So I am going to bring Beverly back as a solo character performer. Right now, the writers are on strike in all across the country. The reason that we're on strike is that, unfortunately, this business is run by corporate, more and more corporate conglomerates with overlords, and I'm doing very well. I'm very grateful. I have a great job. Most of the writers coming up behind me do not have the kind of sustainability built into their careers that they need in order to invest in a career in writing for television and film. So that is why we are on strike. We are also on strike because these big corporations refuse to talk about the use of AI and where that comes into the writing process. We already know that it is going to infiltrate all areas of all of our lives. It gets really murky in the arts because the arts are already complicated when it comes to compensation. So cutting out another way that people can make money in this business by replacing them with robots is tough to swallow. And so we need to put some guardrails on that. So until we do, we will be on strike. Hopefully this will only go on for a couple more months. I don't know when this is out in the world, our little conversation, but I'm hoping by the time it is, this will be in the past tense. So the good news is that I can do live performance, and I can work on my own projects for when the strike is over. I always like to have a couple balls in the air, because even a very secure job, such as it is on something like Grey's Anatomy, which in network television is about as secure as it can get. We're going into season 20.
Wow.
I've been writing on it for the past 2 years. Even with, there's teenagers in my home. Oh, and my husband. Everybody's here. This is exciting. John, you have to come say hi.
That's great.
You can't hear him because he's in my ears.
Hi, John. I'm Leonard Kaplan.
That's
Nice
Leonard Kaplan.
Hi, Leonard
Nice
Kaplan.
to meet you, he said.
Is that a green screen or?
He's a big fan. I believe that's
This is my green screen. I don't have a cabin like this. I wish I did.
He wishes he had a cabin.
I wish I had a cabin like this. I really do. But
he likes your work on the Big Bang Theory.
It's fake green screen, fake chroma key. That's what it is.
Oh, it looks great though. They've done. See, this is why we're concerned about AI. Is that I almost bought it right there.
Anyway, you got to see Cryptic.
So yeah, that AI opens up that old can of worms that since the beginning of Hollywood, writers have not been respected, and the whole thing belongs on writers' shoulders. Writers should be up there with the owners getting the most compensation. it's
It's
crazy. They
really,
don't
it's
realize it, you know?
no, it's not great. And listen, some writers do like we're not. It's hard because then you say things like this, and people are like, "Oh, is Shonda Rhimes not doing well enough for you?" And it's like, well, we're not actually talking about Shonda or Ryan Murphy or Genji Cohan or any of these huge, enormous Greg Berlanti, big giant talents. We're talking about all the hundreds of people that come through their companies learning how to do what they do. So right now I'm not doing a whole lot. Right now I am picketing and
Yeah.
performing live. And you know, I mean, look, I don't know what the future holds. Technology is what it is. So I think live performance and always going back to those roots,
Mm,
no matter how old I get, is something that I feel like I always need as a touchstone. Like
right.
even when I'm not working, and we go through periods of unemployment in this business, you know, as an actor, as a writer, it's just part of this being in a business that is freelance, ultimately freelance work. So with that in mind, the things I can control, I can book a theater, I can do a show, I can make $10, I can go eat. Like I know that how to do that, and I'll always know how to do that. So that's something that, and I always say to actors, because I really don't act as much anymore unless I'm doing sort of live comedy performance.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not, it's not a joy for me to tape myself in my bedroom and then send off an audition so that someone younger and thinner can get the job.
Right.
That said, I always tell actors the best advice I can possibly give you is write for yourself, because you cast yourself.
Sure.
If you're an actor for hire, there is just there are too many variables working against you unless you are extraordinarily lucky, and lots of people are. But you don't ever have to worry about competing with anyone if you've written it for yourself. So
Sure.
it's just, no matter what that looks like, it's the most important thing.
On what do you want to do? I like to ask my guests, because a lot of my audience is students, former students, and young people, what your advice would be. You kind of gave it partially earlier, but before I ask that, how did you have the guts to leave your hometown and go across the country and live in California and all that?
That's such an interesting question. You know, I think I grew up with the idea that you definitely leave. And I think it's because neither of my parents are from Swampscott or even Massachusetts. So, which is very unusual, because all the kids I grew up with, not only did their parents go to Swampscott High School together, a lot of them, their grandparents knew each other from the area. So I was always a little different in that regard. My mom was from Montreal and my dad was from South Jersey. He was from Camden, New Jersey. So they settled in Massachusetts right before I was born, because my dad got a job. So I just didn't think it. What's really interesting is a lot of those people have moved on. They live in different areas around New England. But yeah, my parents have stayed in Swampscott, so I go back a lot. I still have a touchstone there, but I think, I don't know, I loved going to summer camp. I never really had a homesickness issue. It always felt like I can return to this place if I need to, and when I want to. And I do. I return a lot. And like I said, the other thing that's kind of interesting, going back to the accents, is the last big acting job I had was on a television show called Kevin Can F Himself, which was shot in, it was on AMC, and it was shot in and around Quincy, and all over Massachusetts. And I've spent more time here in the winter, or in Swampscott in the winter, than I have since I moved away. And I did not enjoy that. But you know, the Boston accent was a huge benefit to me getting the role and sustaining the job and everything else. So I really do stay in touch with my New England roots, no matter how far away I go.
I have to confess, I asked that question a lot for myself, because you have all your interests mostly are my interests, and I never made the leap because my father passed away when I was just 25. He was only 55.
Oh
I'm
my
an only
God.
child like you,
Yeah.
and I couldn't leave. And I'm with my mother. My mother's upstairs right now. I'm in the
Oh
house
my God.
I
Bless
grew
her
up.
heart.
Yeah.
But
So
I think honestly, I understand, and I understand the listen, if you love where you're from, or if you appreciate enough about where you're from, there's certainly no shame in leaving and in staying. I mean, I there's so much to love, and or no shame in coming back. A lot of people leave and then they figure out that
yeah,
maybe this isn't as comfortable or as much of what they
yeah,
love.
yeah.
You know?
Before the pandemic, I would go out to California every other year, you know.
Sure.
And I'm related by marriage to Kim Karath. You know who Kim
Okay.
Karath
I
was?
don't think I do.
She was a child actress. She was in The Sound of Music. She was Gretel on The Sound of Music.
Oh my gosh, how
And
funny.
she was in Lost in Space and the Brady
Yes.
Bunch and all that,
Oh my
you
gosh, I have to
know.
look her up. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because I do think that um like for instance, like oh yeah, there she is. Oh my gosh, how funny. Oh,
Yeah.
she's beautiful.
Nice girl.
It is a different world. I mean,
It is.
the really funny thing is, at this point in my life, I have now lived in California longer than I've lived anywhere else
Mhm.
geographically.
Mhm.
And there are still things that seem utterly foreign. I mean,
Yeah.
the fact that I can't get a decent roast beef sandwich and that they think Arby's is where you get a roast beef. I'm like, first of all, I would never walk in at Arby's. What are you talking about? You go
Well, you got
to
no Kellys out there, that's for sure.
no Kelly's, no normal sub shop with roast beef sandwiches. It's
Yeah.
bizarre. And the fact that when I see palm trees, I still feel like, oh, I'm on vacation. I'm not at home. Who has palm trees in their hometown? That's very weird to me.
Right. Right.
But I think also once you raise kids in a certain place, that does become your home, because then
course.
you're very entrenched in the community, not just because of your career. You're in the community because you're dealing with people who are not doing what you're doing, but they're all contributing to your life in different ways.
And
So
then when they grow up, they want to be able to visit home, and you can't leave there because there's no place to visit.
they think Swampscott is the funniest thing. They can't get over how quiet it is.
Yeah.
And they think it's beautiful. They love Eisman's Beach. They love Gourmet Garden. They know all the things. They love Kelly's. They know that they stop at Kelly's on the way back from Logan. Like, they have a whole routine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So there, a friend of mine, do you know Amanda? Amanda Warnock?
Sounds very
Remember
familiar.
her? So I told her I was interviewing you, and she sent me a story that you were on Twitter and you have a good
Oh,
discussion about ageism.
yeah.
So can you tell me about that a little bit?
Sure. Well, this was also like, again, I know how it was about 7 years ago, because I know when it happened. And I'm not very involved with social media at all, but this was one of the last things that I was auditioning for before I became a full-time writer. I had an opportunity to audition for a show, and the main role, the husband role, was already cast. And I'm not going to tell you who the actor is because I've never revealed it in public, but he was a very famous television actor. And at the time, he was 57 years old. I was 43. And when I tell you, it was the audition that, like, you think, you walk out of there and you go, I mean, I'm going to have to change my life now because I booked this job and I'm going to have to be going to Vancouver. And
Yeah.
it was very rare does that happen after you've been auditioning for a long time. But I was like, I have this in the bag. I talked to my agent. They said, oh my God, they love you. Stand by for a couple days. They just need to, get their ducks in a row. And I'm sure you're going to get an opportunity to have a screen test again, and then you'll get approved and whatever. I was like, this is happening. Days go by and I don't hear anything. Finally, I call my agent and I said, what is going on? What happened with that project? And he said, do you really want to know? And I said, of course, that's a crazy question. Of course I want to know. And he said, they are going younger with the role that you auditioned for it. And I said, wait a minute. I said, but I'm not sure I understand. Did I hear you correctly? Because he's 57 and I'm 43. And he said, right, they're going younger. I said, we're 14 years apart, but I'm playing his wife, and I have like grown children, like adult children in this. And they said, right, they want to go younger. And I was just, it was the first time, I mean, I was truly shocked, because also like this actor, to be fair, he wasn't like, he looked his age. I mean, he was bald and short and heavy. Like, it was weird. And I was so confused. And I was actually just more shocked than even insulted. I was like, this is crazy. So I tweeted about it without saying his name. And of all the things, it went semi-viral, to the point where, you know, because it was also a hot topic, you know, like, you know, tons of actors. I'm not the first actress to talk about like not getting something because of my age. But I think it was also just like, it was so blunt. And then they kept wanting to interview me about it. And I said, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I think my message is pretty clear in terms of like bigger interviews about it. Like, I didn't want to go on Access Hollywood. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not famous enough that anyone, mostly people, because they kept saying like star of Orange is the New Black. I'm like, Orange is the New Black. I'm like, I've done 3 episodes, like not the star. So, but yeah, it was, but that's when I was like, you know what? I'd so much rather be a writer primarily, because I don't have to listen to nonsense about that stuff.
Yeah,
and then I cast the girl much younger than me in my own show. Go on.
It's funny when I mentioned ageism and I saw the headline, I didn't think of that at all, because I had a class in college many years ago on ageism. My professor did studies on ageism, and the ageism that he was talking about was really old people, where younger people will say, "Oh, your mother or your grandmother, your grandfather, they're so cute." It's a dehumanizing kind of a thing that it's inexplicable, but it's so ingrained. It's the last acceptable prejudice.
Absolutely.
Going either way. I mean, I'm, you're young to me, and Hollywood is just crazy.
It's crazy. I mean, it's crazy. And that stuff, like that element, you kind of have to, there are people that grow up here that, it's a crazy town. It attracts a lot of crazy people.
Yeah.
You've got to take advantage of the things about California and Los Angeles that have nothing to do with this business, because the business can take over, and it shouldn't, because there's a lot of great other things. So
there's great creatives, but there's also great egos, and that's the thing.
Yes. A lot of crazy people. A lot of people are filling their insecurity with external validation, and what better cure for that than big audiences? So you have to stay healthy that way.
Right. I mean, writing can be difficult as well, but not for the same reasons, and I do some writing. I've been writing a sci-fi book for 10 years. It's actually 3 books, and someday soon, I hope I'm going to get it out there.
Trilogies. Everybody wants a trilogy, of course. Listen, people always want more content and more stories. So you never run out of opportunity at any age.
Exactly. Now, would you consider writing novels?
No. I am not a good prose writer.
Okay.
It's not my skill set. But my husband wrote a memoir that was really, really good, actually.
So when you write a story, you use Final Draft?
I do.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I took a screen. This is going to sound like I'm blowing my horn here. I have a screenwriting certificate from Emerson. Yeah. So that was after I went to school.
I mean, there's an Emerson outpost now here in LA that's been here for a few years. So there's a lot of Emerson. I think they do a lot of internships from the Boston school out here. And it's pretty great.
Emerson was a fun place. So I also did, and now I'm really going to show off because you're a comedian.
Go ahead.
I got 8 skits, or bits as they call them, into the Emerson Comedy Workshop when I was there in '81. And I could have gone in your direction, maybe not have been as successful, but I mean,
listen, you have to be a little bit of someone once said, it's like, if you can do anything else,
Yeah.
do that. Because the rejection and the criticism and the subjective nature of this is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
I really don't know what else I'm capable of doing. I think I guess someone would have to teach me, but I mean, I write on a medical show, but God help you if I ever have to do an emergency operation. Like, it's not going to happen. So I can barely even do my own taxes, but I can
Interesting.
improvise.
That's great. That's great. So young people, do your thing, and maybe other considerations than Hollywood.
Well, just always go back to the heart of the kernel of it that you love the most. So for me, it's like, no matter what, they can take away the job. We can go on strike. I cannot be in the writer's room. I cannot be on a set. I cannot be getting paid to do those things, but I can go and improv. I did a show for 10 people 2 nights ago.
Right.
So I know that I'm still capable of doing that. I'm doing a show in New York in a couple of days. I have the resources to do that. And that's the thing that started it all.
Yeah. Would you, if somebody said, Jamie, come be on the writing staff for SNL, would you do it?
Oh, SNL is a real complicated one. First of all, they're never going to ask me that. They really like them young and fresh and on the pulse. Although we still watch SNL every week. I did audition for SNL back 1.5 million years ago. I obviously did not get on. If they ask me right now, I'd have to wait till my children graduated high school. I don't want to work in another city.
That's legitimate. That's
Yeah.
legitimate. Wow.
But I'll say, you know what? I'll see you in 5 years if you're still interested in having a very old lady on your staff.
I mean, we just got finished talking about the ageism thing and how it doesn't matter if you're a writer, how old you are.
I agree with that, but I don't know if Lorne Michaels feels the same way.
That's ridiculous. An idea is an idea.
I know, but I'm closer to retirement age than I am to, so who knows? I don't know what their policies are. I don't think they have a lot of 50-year-old writers who are fresh on the show.
If
right
you're in retirement age, then I'm dead.
Stop it. We're just not working at SNL. We have other places.
Anyway, I want to thank you very much for coming on and being so open and willing to talk. And
thank you for having me. Best of luck with everything.
great.
I can't wait to
Thank
see
you.
this when it comes out. I'm going to send it to all my friends.
I gotta edit, and I'm teaching English right now, so I don't
Amazing.
have that much time to I'll be done and on the 23rd of June. So
Excellent.
then sometime after that, or if I'm lucky sooner, I'll have this out.
So then maybe the strike really will be over by the time people see this.
Maybe. Well, wait, I don't want my show to be outdated, but I guess it's more important for the strike to end.
Definitely.
Yeah.
All right. You take care, Len. Thank you so much.
You too. Thank you. Thanks again to Jamie Denbo for coming on to What Do You Want to Do? Please join me next time with another guest, and we'll find out what they want to do, what they love doing. And until then, what do you want to do?